so excited for this question because anytime we get a question that's rooted in psychology, it's like my bread and butter. And I really believe that is what has been the undertone of Burn Bootcamp success, is helping people not just overcome their physiological desires and challenges, but also the underlying psychological ones, because we all know that it's easy to work out a couple times, but it's really hard to do it forever as a lifestyle. And so the set of your mindset is really important. And the question that comes from our member today is that it's easy to fall off the wagon. Could you please share some tips to stay consistent? And I'll lead this one off because this is right up my alley. And I want to break this down to actually understand the question first. So I can see some tendencies in here that I want to address. So it's easy to fall off the wagon. Okay, that was a statement. All right, that means there's certainty whenever there's a period. Fall off the wagon is a metaphor. But metaphors we have to be careful with, because if you're using it when it's attached to something deeply emotional for you, you actually take that metaphor as reality. And so Dr. Aaron T. Beck, a psychologist back in the 70s and 80s, really discovered this. And he said to watch out for 3 language patterns. There's 3 language patterns that universally all psychologists can recognize: catastrophize, overgeneralize, and personalize. And so when we catastrophize, it's kind of like the anywhere, all the time, everyone's always out to get me mindset. Or an example of that might be, when I make a mistake, my whole life is screwed up. I failed this one test. Now my relationship is going to be a failure, and my fitness is going to be a failure. You take one thing and you project it onto everything. Catastrophize, we can't do that. Overgeneralize is a broad, sweeping conclusion. Beck also found this in 1976, called Beck et al. Is the name of the actual publication. I failed this exam, so therefore I am a failure. So I take one thing that I did, and now my whole life in a generalization is a failure. So overgeneralizing is a language pattern that oftentimes people who are not successful will possess. And then finally, personalization, where you're attributing external events to your personality with little to no evidence. So it's like, I lost us the game when, the entire game was played by 10 people in hundreds of activities. You could never have possibly just lost you the game. So you take whatever happened negatively or positively and you assert it to yourself. I fell off the wagon in this is this really combination of all 3 of these things, where I fell off the wagon. I'm overgeneralizing, I'm making it personal, and I'm making it a catastrophe, all in one little metaphor. This is dangerous. And we've got to watch our words. And so my first advice, not even an answer to your question, is show me your wagon and show me your bruises. Because I'm pretty sure we drive hybrid electric vehicles now. There's no falling off wagons, and there is no bruise. So you don't have damage from modifying a healthy diet temporarily. You don't have damage from that. So if you say I fell off the wagon, you're inherently subconsciously saying I am hurt by this. Hurt by what? Thin air? You know what I mean? So this is the pattern that I want to keep us away from. There's a language pattern. Like if you split the world into, this might sound a little crude, but it's clear, so I think it helps, into winners. People win and people lose at things. You either win or you lose, right? It's the duality of life: up, down, left, right. You can't have winners, you can't without losers. There's a language pattern that the losers possess, and it is these 3 things: catastrophe, overgeneralization, personalization. And there's a language pattern that people who are winning will exude. So what side do you want to be on? The winning side or the losing side? So I don't have tips. I don't have tips to stay consistent, because the underlying psychology, what I'm talking about, that needs to be, you can't just check those boxes. You've got to fill those boxes and apply constant self-awareness to see if I'm doing these 3 things. That is the actual tool, slowing the game down a little bit, saying, am I catastrophizing? Am I overgeneralizing? Am I personalizing?
I think you just said what I was thinking when I read this question was lack of self-awareness. I think that that's something that's helped me, at least like going back to her question and sharing tips, is having the self-awareness to understand like what I'm doing, right? So making sure that I am self-aware of if I have a busy week, my kid is sick, last night is a great example. My kid had hives and I was supposed to take 5:30 a.m. camp. Like had to commit to myself and I had to have the self-awareness to like tell myself I'm still going to go to camp. And I woke up and I still went to camp. So I think that that's the biggest thing that honestly, I think Burn Boot Camp and like putting my like body through like physical change like on purpose has given me more self-awareness and not only just confidence. And probably I got confidence because I got more self-awareness. Mm-hmm. So it's like this really cool cycle that I think once you have that foundation of self-awareness, these types of questions won't be questions anymore because you have the self-awareness to kind of work through it. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I think I thought of the same thing too, is what's the wagon and what does it mean to fall off? Because we can all define that so differently. So it's very vague. So let's say that they're asking this question because maybe they think falling off the wagon means I went on a vacation and I ate and drank whatever I wanted and maybe I didn't work out for 7 days. And so if that's what you're considering falling off the wagon, then it's just it's a decision and a choice to come back from that vacation and say, hey, that's okay that I lived that life in that week and I didn't do those things. But if you're telling yourself you're falling off the wagon, then your behavior is going to continue because you think you're on the ground and that you're not in the wagon. So just realize and accept and have that self-awareness that, hey, I live a balanced life and it's okay to go 7 days without working out if that's what my mind and body needed. And it's okay that I drank and I ate these things. Now today is a new day. And now like I'm making a conscious choice to do something different. So
yeah, I couldn't agree more. One of my day-isms that I say day in and day out is that words matter. The words that we use, the stories that we tell ourselves, they're so important to the quality of life that we lead. And I agree with you, Morgan. If your wagon is one made of balance where you're not rigid, but you are flexible, like we are not meant to be rigid. We're not meant to eat egg whites and boiled chicken. Like what quality of life are you having? Enjoy the cupcake with your kids, go on vacation, but don't punish yourself for quote unquote falling off the wagon. Get back to, the balanced life that is makes you feel the best, which is what we're all after.
Yep.
And if you fall off the wagon, it hurts. And so now you're going to associate that vacation that was supposed to be pleasurable with something that's painful.
Yeah.
Which is the ultimate two motivators in life is pain and pleasure. Everything that we do can be, I think that's one layer above the fundamental motivator, which is love.
Yeah.
So it's love and then it's pain and it's pleasure. And I will do anything to get more love and I'll do anything to run away from losing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, words matter, Day. Words matter.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, you guys, anything else on this question? I think we got our point across.
I think we're good.
Okay.
We're
all right.
good.
But that's a really important one. And we have to remember psychology matters. Words matter.
Yeah.
Language of losers, language of winners, words of winners, not language of losers.
Yeah. And I think this is an important note, I think, for us and how we think at Burn Boot Camp, because we could just sit here and say, oh, well, do a challenge, or that's how you get back on track, or like that's tips to stay consistent, like do the streak challenge.
That'd make a lot more money.
Yeah, but I think for us, we've all realized that it's deeper than that. And people get demotivated and remotivated and demotivated and remotivated. And if they don't fix the mindset, then they're going to keep going through that cycle. They're going to keep going through the diet cycle and the motivation cycle. And so we've learned, and we believe this, we put it in the book too. It's like, it's what's going on in here. And if we don't get to the root of that, it doesn't matter what tips we throw out to you. They're all going to fall flat eventually.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes our marketing different too, Trish, is that it's easy to just follow the crowd and do like the tried and true things that had always worked in the fitness industry. Yeah. But that's promoting what Morgan's talking about, right? It's not creating a different perspective, a more empowering perspective that makes people's life better. In the long run, it's, the traditional marketing has been lose weight fast, 30-day quick fix, like, and so obviously that puts you between a rock and a hard place trying to find a marketing, like trying to dial in our marketing message, but it also makes us who we are and different, because we refuse to just latch on to this, this narrative that's disempowering.
Well, and I think if you, in our transformation stories, every fitness company out there has transformation stories, but all the ones that I've read, they don't talk, maybe it might start with losing weight, or that's the scale, the number on the scale. But most times, I would say 90-ish% of the time, they end with a mental transformation, which is what we lean into and how we're different because of what Morgan just said. It's really important to us. That's part of like our core values is to be authentic, right? And so that's what we know works, is for you to actually understand yourself. And so I think honestly, from a marketing perspective and a storytelling perspective, I'm really, I feel blessed that I work for and get to be part of a brand that is an emotional brand, that we create these deeper connections with our members because they have literally transformed their lives from the inside out. So no, I love it.